Right now we're going to have a conversation with Timmy. Timmy is blind and was an orphan the first 7 years of his life. I first met Timmy 4 years ago, and he's been like a little brother to me since. Here's a clip from the first time Timmy and I met. When somebody meets you for the first time, what do you hope they say?
I hope they say, Hey Timmy, you're the sweetest person ever in this world.
Now over the years, Timmy and I have had some deep, meaningful conversations, like the time we discussed his adoption.
China was not a good place. Do you know that, Chris?
Why was your experience there not good?
Because my mama left me in the bridge, and then maybe she left me because she was scared. She was scared having a disability.
I can't tell you what your mom was thinking or how she felt. I can't tell you her motives, but I can tell you that many people here love you. I thought I could help Timmy with anything he needed, but during the conversation you're about to see, he asked me a question I wasn't prepared for. Why did God make me blind? And when Timmy said that, I knew I had to bring in somebody who knows what it's like to be blind. And that person is my friend James.
Hi, I'm James Rath. I'm a legally blind filmmaker and YouTuber and gamer as well as of late. And I like to better shape the idea of disability representation.
Before you get to know more about James, I'm gonna play for you the conversation I had with Timmy that prompted me to call James in the first place. And that conversation started with Timmy sharing to me his latest interest, Greek gods.
Do you know who Poseidon is in Greek mythology?
Tell me all about Poseidon.
Poseidon is the god of the ocean, the sea.
If you were a Greek mythological figure, Timmy, what would your powers be?
Oh, riding a bike. I told my parents recently, my family, for a while, I wish I could get a brand new bike so I could ride my bike on my own so I could see what it's like if I had eyes.
Can I ask your mom a question, Timmy?
Yeah.
So Timmy just verbalized his desire to hop on his bike and go to the store and be independent. Does he talk to you a lot about stuff like that?
He does, yes.
What does he say?
He wants to have eyes, and he wishes he had eyes so he could just go and ride a bike, you know, and just be independent and ride a bike.
It's nice to have a little help, but also it's nice to do things on your own a little bit too. Maybe when I'm older, I can tell my parents, hey, I want to take a little trip on the train to Northern California.
Sure.
I chatted for a while with Timmy and his mom, but I want to skip forward now to the part that prompted me to call James.
And he's trying to figure out God, you know, which is understandable, and we're grateful.
And I'm being honest, guys.
Because why is God good and hard things happen? That kind of thing.
Like, sometimes I don't like God sometimes.
Yeah, because you think that he's the root of all your problems. Like, why would you not like God? Tell me why.
Because maybe sometimes he might take things away.
So you expressed your desire to have a bike and ride it independently, and right now you're not able to do that. So in your mind, you're blaming God and wondering, why would God not let me ride a bike on my own?
Yeah. Or take an Amtrak. Or
are you angry at God because you were born with no eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, huh? Yeah. Do you feel like you're less valuable because you don't have eyes?
Yeah. Like
yeah. Yeah. What makes a person valuable?
Oh, how they can go. For example, take a train all the way up to Northern California. Get good food and go.
That makes a person valuable? What makes a person valuable? Do they need eyes to be valuable?
No.
No. So you're kind of mad at God because you don't get to do some of the things you feel are important?
Or fun?
At this point, I realized there wasn't much more guidance I could provide to Timmy in this area, because he needed a role model that was like him. He needed representation that was like him. So for that reason, I called James. And a few days later, the two had this beautiful conversation.
Hey, James.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me today. Also, it's just a pleasure to meet you, Timmy. And I don't know how much you've heard or what you heard, but yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I've been legally blind since birth, and my vision is kind of a unique case where my vision goes in and out throughout the day depending on how much light intake I experience. So essentially, I have to adapt throughout the day to being really with no sight whatsoever. And then the sight I do have really isn't my primary sense. My hearing and my sense of touch really is. So yeah, and I love to travel.
I want to ride the Amtrak all the way up to San Francisco or Yosemite.
I lived in Los Angeles for the last 5 years, so in Southern California, and oftentimes I'd take the train almost every weekend from the LA County, Los Angeles County, down to Orange County to see some friends and work on some projects with people.
It's exciting. I want to do that one day. Was it fun for you to take the train every weekend? Like, were you nervous about taking the train every weekend to Orange County, or it was fun?
I was definitely a little nervous at first, right? Like, doing it my first time, I'm trying to think back, and really, it's one of those feelings where it's like, I just want to make sure I'm listening, to make sure I don't forget my stop, right? And once you know the rhythm, the routine of it, it becomes second nature, and you kind of know, like, oh, I've been on here for about 40 minutes, my stop should be coming up. Yeah, going from, like, Union Station in LA to Orange County, it was a really good time. It's a good time to just sort of debrief, You have that time to yourself, listen to music, a podcast, an audiobook.
What does it mean to debrief?
Debrief just means sort of just take a moment to breathe, take a moment to yourself, and yeah, just relax and enjoy the ride.
What do you like about being blind?
One of the things I do enjoy, which is I have an appreciation for the sounds around me. And what I mean by that is, like, I love to go hiking. I love nature. So anytime I get the chance to go on a road trip or go to the beach, it's just like one of those things. How I was kind of talking about debriefing, relaxing on the train. I love just listening to everything happening around me. And I don't know, I have that little extra, what you could say, like, I just zone in a little bit better with it. I don't hear better than anyone else. But I can focus in on that a little bit better now.
What's the hardest thing that you ever learned?
It's a great question. I think part of it is, and I know this is maybe a common answer, but just accepting, my circumstances. I was about your age when that happened. It really took me, to be completely honest, and I didn't have anyone growing up to really look up to that wasn't a cartoon character who was blind. It was all just me figuring it out on my own quite a bit, and it was lonely and hard sometimes. But Timmy, you've got great support. You've got friends. I'm your friend. Chris is here, and it's gonna take a couple of years for sure to just be like fully embracing who we are.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So remember when you were talking to Chris last week, you were talking about how you really wish you weren't blind. Mm-hmm. And now you have James like cheering you on and going, you can accept that and move forward in that with joy and peace and excitement. It will take hard work, but it requires hard work for all of us. But yours just looks different than maybe mine does, or Chris's does. Does that help you? Does that encourage you?
Yeah.
I'm so glad, buddy.
And I want to tell you something. The hardest thing, James, about being blind is not being able to ride a bike.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand that. It's really, there's gonna be some differences growing up with a visual impairment. One of the cool things I did as a kid was I went to a camp for children who were blind, low vision, and they had like sighted volunteers who would oftentimes actually take us on like 2-seater bikes, and you're still contributing even though you're on the back seat and you have someone who's helping to sight guide on that bike. But I think it'd be really cool for you to experience like a 2-seater bike at some point.
I have been telling my parents, like, how many months did I tell you guys I want I think I started I started a little bit in June saying, guys, I hope I could ride a bike one day.
When we got him, he was 7, and he had a lot of catching up to do from being an orphan for 7 years. And so I think he's 12, so he's in this 12-year-old young man body, and he's ready to just, move forward and do all these things. And we're like, buddy, you gotta take it one step at a time, So that's been hard for him.
I can imagine. It really just takes a lot of perseverance, and you have so much time, Timmy. Like, it might seem like, you need to get it all done now, but you've got so much time to work on every goal that you want to accomplish, and you will.
What is it like to go on an airplane by yourself?
Well, so I still tend to get some assistance, and that's, it's just part of the process. I go up to the counter, I'm like, hey, I'm getting on this flight, here's, my info, passport, and saying I would like assistance to get me through the gate, because no one likes to be in an airport, let's be honest. We like the plane, we like to get to our destination, but the airport is it's a process, and sitting, waiting for security, waiting for, finding your gate and everything. The best part about being blind is you can get assistance, and so you get a sight guide to help you get through the front of that line at the security.
So he still needs help.
Yes.
And do I still need help?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it okay to still need help?
Yes.
Yeah, in a way, we all need accommodations. It just looks a little bit differently for some people, and that's totally okay and totally cool, because it gives us a different experience. And I think that's what life is all about, just sharing these experiences with other people, whether we're helping them or they're helping us.
Timmy, I'm about to let you go so James and I can have a conversation, but before I do, I have a question. After hearing James speak, do you believe that you can achieve your goals?
Yeah. I believe I could walk to the train station one day if I put in the work for it.
Timmy, you were a great listener today. You're always amazing. I'm gonna let you go now, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
God bless you, James.
Thank you.
James, I thought of you when Timmy expressed his struggles with self-acceptance, because I know that you're a huge advocate for proper disability representation. Can you talk a little bit about why it's important for kids to see people like themselves in film and TV?
It can be really meaningful when you have people to look up to, and it's something that I feel like I was missing for a lot of my life growing up, but then I realized, like, I want to help provide those opportunities for people who want to be those role models, who want to be put on the spotlight.
Tell me about how you provide those opportunities. What's your role within media?
I oftentimes do directing. So directing is where I can bring my vision to life, while at the same time fighting the budgets and the producers on what we can do. But it also allows me to have that influence on set to ensure that we have an accessible set, because if we're going out and we're shooting with a talent who uses a wheelchair, and that character has a wheelchair, but then we're filming on a set, the location that we, the one that we got approved, but it isn't accessible, I need to make that executive decision with producers to ensure that we are getting a portable ramp or a portable elevator, right, to lift our talent up and actually be able to do our scene and ensure that we're accessible all the way around, from behind the scenes to representing an accessible story.
A big topic right now, and rightfully so, is hiring disabled actors to play disabled roles. Why is that so important?
Yeah, this is always sort of a tough conversation at times, because some people just don't get it. But I understand people have different points of views and come from different backgrounds, but for me, from my perspective, we aren't oftentimes hired, whether it's just something like an administrative role, job, or a customer service, let alone in Hollywood, where Hollywood wants to tell our stories and make it, Grammy or Oscar nominated, but then there was no person with a disability involved in the making of that story. It's just all there for pulling at the heartstrings, right? And there's nothing wrong with a story that, you know, centers around a disabled character or has the concept of disability within its story. But it is important that you have sensitivity readers, you know, people in the writing room, people on set who can actually, like, check for consistency and continuity, right? Like, the film sets always have these things to ensure that there's continuity within the scenes that you're filming. And that's a big thing with disability, to ensure that that character is accurately being represented, because the people who will see through that are the people who have that disability, who have that experience, that lived experience.
When you were younger, did you have characters that you felt represented you?
I didn't have enough, to be honest. I didn't have really any good representation of characters who you know, were live action, but also blind, who were low vision, who really gave a more authentic experience to, like, what I knew. And any time that there was, for instance, a blind character, one movie is called My Blind Brother, which is a comedy. You know it's a fake, it's a pun. You know, my disability is just being used. My story, my lived experience is just a pun for a joke that's being played by a sighted actor who is collecting a paycheck. And whether they feel connected to that role or not, I couldn't tell you. It's not for me to really say. But I feel disconnected as an audience member who is blind. I feel disconnected from that kind of story because it's not a real story. It's not accurate.
What would you like to say to all the wonderful disabled kids who are watching this video?
Even talking to myself as a kid, like, if I could go back and just, I don't know, say something to myself. Any time that I doubted that I could pick up a camera, shoot something, and direct something, or work with someone to shoot and I direct, and make money from that, you definitely can. You can definitely make a paycheck and career out of that. But the best thing of all is you can make an impact from doing what you love.
James, what's the best way for someone to follow you online?
Everywhere on the web, I'm at James Rath. That's Rath. You can drop the W. I'm not that angry. And yeah, that's jamesrath.la is my website, and that also links to pretty much everything but YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram.
I wanted to end this video by sending a big thank you to James for providing guidance to Timmy. I think their conversation really highlights the importance of authentic disability representation. Remember, when you hear people talking about hiring disabled actors to play disabled roles, that is so important because it allows kids just like Timmy to understand their value. Thank you, James, and make sure you go and subscribe to James's channel on YouTube. I'll put that in the description below. And he actually interviewed me, and that video will be going up about the same time as this one. So go and check it out and give James lots of love.